My name's James Nicholson. I hope you had an incredible weekend. This video is the news for March, the property news for March 2024. There's a lot going on, and so this video is going to be really detailed, insightful, and probably teach you some stuff that you need to know right now if you're looking at buying a property, fixing your interest rate, just want to know what's going on with house prices, want to know what's going on with legislation. We're going to cover all of the Renters Reform Bill. We're going to cover the leasehold stuff and a bit more beside that. So while you're here, if you haven't done already, do subscribe to the channel over there and hit the bell notification. I've got new content every single day. We've got more than 700 videos now, so you don't want to miss out on the content. And while you're here, smash the like button or tickle the like button. Do something to the like button, guys. That really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. That gets us all the views on the channel. If you don't do that, we don't get no views. So do smash that like button over there right now. So, lots to go through here. So let's start here. First off, what happened with inflation this month? Well, not a lot. So inflation has stuck at around 4%. I think it was 4.1%. So pretty much no real change here. And what's interesting is I did a video. A lot of the inflation that we're actually getting problems with at the moment is stuff the government has done. So one of the things was tobacco and alcohol went up. Well, that's because the government raised the tax on it. And so that was a self-imposed inflationary rise. They did that. Next is accommodation and housing. So housing and rents in particular have gone up more than 10% this year. And that's because interest rates have gone up. So if we kind of got them to fix those two issues, then maybe we would be better off or not quite in such a bad inflation scenario. Now, inflation is expected to drop in the next few months. The energy cap has dropped. That's going to save people a ton of money, and that hopefully will pass on to businesses and pass on to everyone as well. So inflation, 4% on the way down, but not quick enough. Also, they're talking about that it's looking like that it's probably going to rise at the end of the year. Again, not great. Next is a recession. We're in a recession now, not ideal. So we're in a technical recession, as they say. They're saying we're potentially out of it already. It's 2 consecutive quarters of decline. They kind of probably know that we may be out of that. So it's not going to be necessarily a long recession, but we might go back into a recession, and it still impacts people. Why is this relevant to a property channel? Is because anytime you go into a recession, businesses start to cut staff. A lot of businesses panic. They get rid of staff ahead of time to protect their profits. That is going to lead to higher unemployment. That is going to lead to less house purchases. People that maybe can't pay their rent, that can't pay their mortgages. That's not good news. So hopefully this recession is short, but who knows? No one knows for sure until it's pretty much the end of the recession, because it's such a lagging thing. So let's see. We're technically in a recession right now. Let's see the impact on that. That's one to watch for sure. Interest rates. The Bank of England interest rate, not the rate that you get. And so at the last meeting, rates were held at 5.25%. They've been there a while now. Not looking like it's going to change in March, in a few weeks. So interest rates are sticking, and that's because inflation is sticking. But as I said, ironically, the thing that fed into the inflation data the most this month was the tax and the tobacco, which they increased. So they kind of caused their own bad news in that one. So interest rates are stuck at 5.25%, but it's kind of irrelevant because you care on the mortgage rate that you get. What do you pay? Well, December and January, rates were getting competitive. People were fighting over your business, weren't they? And so because transaction volume in 2023 was down significantly, lenders started a price war at the end of last year, beginning of this year. We had rates getting close to 4%. The bad news is mortgage rates are now going up. So that's what's happened this month. So mortgage rates with nearly every lender have increased, not loads, 0.25%, but it's definitely different than fighting for our business. Now, why did this happen? This happened because we had a very busy January. We had lots of new buyers coming into the market. We had tons of people that sat on the sidelines in 2023. As I just said, transaction sales volumes were down 20% last year. And that's because a lot of people just had a wait and see approach. Interest rates were high. The mortgage rate that you could have got last year was around 6%, 7% for some people. That meant that they didn't want to borrow money. So they just sat on the sidelines, they waited. Then when the price war started in December, people came back into the market. More people registered and sales and transactions were up 15% in January. That's one reason as well why lenders put their rates up to us, because they had business. They didn't need to be so competitive. And so the start of the year has been very, very good. We don't have March or February's sales data yet, but it was a good start in January. Here's an interesting one. We had a product launched, 1% deposits. So there's a lender, I've done a video on this, so do go and check out the video. There's a lender now that will basically, if you buy a new build property, they use all the incentives that you can get. Curtains, deposit incentives, and all these garden incentives that they tend to give. And they'll use those and actually take that and use that towards your deposit. Now, what that does is you'll still get a rate of around 4.5%, but they will have paid some of it off for you using those incentives from those new builds properties, and that will reduce your rate effectively to 1%. Now, this is a fairly good scheme. The downsides are you've got to make sure that after you finish that 1%, you can afford it at a full rate. Now, you would be stress tested on that. You would be having affordability at a higher rate, but you just want to be sure, right? And so these are a fairly new product. Potentially, it could kickstart some first-time buy purchases and stuff like that. Go and check the video out that I made a few days ago on that on this channel. I think it could be quite interesting for you. So this is around having a 1% deposit, and the deposit is reduced by buyer incentives. That's interesting there. Section 21. This came back in the news. I thought this was not going to be talked about for a while. Section 21 is no fault evictions. Landlords kind of like them because it gives them extra security. If they've got a bad tenant, they can get rid of them quite quickly. There's another option called Section 8, which is slower, goes through the court, can take months for that to happen. Section 21 is fast. Now, a lot of groups and charities like Shelter, for example, like the Big Issue, they don't like these because some landlords use them in an unscrupulous way. And so that's important that they're looking to get rid of this. Now, the government said they would get rid of this when the courts are ready. Now it's getting closer to the election and it's not looking good for them. They're looking at every strategy they can get to get some votes. This is one thing that they're tabling at the moment, is pushing through Section 21, abolishing it before the election. Now, this would cause problems for landlords that are trying to get rid of tenants. It would also cause problems for the court, because prior to that, you'll probably get an influx of Section 21s that happen, and that will overwhelm the court. Even after all of that, the court can't cope. That was the point in delaying it. There really isn't much logic to this, so we'll have to see what happens. This will make more landlords quit. That will drive up rents even more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I've made some videos on that. I'll continue to make more videos on that as well. So do check out that stuff. What else have we got? We've got another 1%. We've got a 1% scheme as well from the government. And so this is likely to be launched in the budget this week. And that is where basically the government will allow you to get into a new build for 1% as a deposit. That will help a lot of people, and that will make a big difference. This one here is more about making the interest rate 1%. This one here is making the deposit 1%. So this will help. This one here is only with a certain amount of lenders. This is a big government scheme, just for clarity. Go and check out the more detailed videos I've made on both of those. But yeah, 1% deposits. It's possible it's going to launch in this week's budget. We'll see on Wednesday whether that happens or not. This is a new government scheme. We already have a 5% scheme, so it's just an adjustment to that. It won't take long to roll out, but another vote getter and an option there from the government. House prices, what did they do this month? Well, we've had one lot of data from Nationwide, and they were up 0.7% in February. Not much, but every little counts. That will protect people as well if the market turns and goes down. So you've got that little smidge of extra equity in there. This has happened due to extra activity in the market, due to mortgage rates going down for a lot of people in December and January. It got the activity going. This could quite quickly get reversed now that mortgage rates from lenders are going up. So house prices have had a pretty good start to the year so far. Last is leasehold reform. And so the Leasehold Reform Act is getting more readings in Parliament. I think they're on the third reading. I had one last week. It's not quite as good as we thought it was going to be. Ground rent is not looking like it's going to be abolished. It will be abolished if you renew your lease, but they were talking about just getting rid of ground rent for everybody. That's gone, or just not on the table for discussion anymore. Leases that can be extended. They've got a loophole for retirement properties. So retirement properties now won't have that, which isn't good. That's not fair. That's kind of vulnerable people as well. So that's not really great. So that's one loophole that the developers can get around as well. Marriage value, they were talking about abolishing that. It's not going to be abolished, but it is going to be cheaper. Significantly cheaper, but not abolished, which is frustrating as well. So the Leasehold Reform Act, again, we did a detailed video on that. Let me know what you think of that. So quite a busy month. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. Do comment below. If you watch all my videos and you don't comment, every day I get someone that says, I've been watching your channel for ages. Introduce yourself. I want to know who you guys are, what you're doing, why you're watching. So do that. So this month, inflation stuck. Recession. Interest rates from the bank held. Mortgage rates have gone up. That's not good. I've made lots of videos on what you should be doing on that. 1% interest rate is important as well. Section 21, that's not good for landlords. The 1% scheme from the government, you'll see that this week. House prices up, and the Leasehold Reform Act, not as good as it could have been. Do comment below on all your thoughts. Have I missed anything that happened in the last month? Do subscribe to the channel. Do check out all the content. And if you want to get a hand on property investing, we've got a training course called The Fundamentals of Property Investing. It's less than 50 quid. That's a one-off charge. I'm going to link to that in the description below so you can really understand how to get properties below market value, how to source them, how to get investors, how to negotiate the deal, what strategy you should use when you get the deal. All of that's included in the Fundamentals of Property Investing. So click below, grab that, check it out. Check out some other content on the channel while you're here, including this video right here.